I wrote down a few things at 4 o'clock this morning. Now, when my writing isn't great, but try and follow me anyway. This is really the Irish revival that took place between 1980 and 1920 was an extraordinary time of cultural success. It was a time when it was possible for men and women to join a whole range of clubs and societies dedicated to the Gaelic games, Irish language, music, theatre, politics and the civil rights movement. From all these activities, a group emerged who decided to strike for freedom. We are gathered here today to honour two of those brave people, Pearse and Patrick Belton. We have always been very proud in Longford that our county grounds were named after Pearse. Pearse, who read the proclamation on that historic occasion on the 24th of April 1916, is an inspiration to the people of all over the world. So our President, Jimmy Fox, will be bringing it back to us here in a few minutes. The other man is one of our own, Patrick Belton, a native of Rathline, Leinster. He was born in the historic years of 1884, the year the GA was founded. After leaving school, he went to London, where he and he worked in the early 1900s. He was a member and later an officer of the Geraldine GA Club in London. He was a close associate of Michael Collins and Sam Maguire, and you all know who they are, and who were also in the Geraldine Club in London. Patrick was working in the Land Commission in Dublin when the Rising took place. He served in the GPO during the Easter week, and later in the week he joined the Tom Ash movement in Ashburn. After the Rising he was investigated but managed somehow to get away with his activities. Patrick later served as a TD in many of his actually, which surprised me, and I brought it to Lewis J's attention. He was in Fine Gael, and imagine he joined Fianna Fáil. You know, and that was, and maybe let's just go back to that now between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. He did many of his descendants, including Lewis J and Avril Dye, followed in his footsteps. So, all I have to do now, please, Jimmy Fox, would you come and read the proclamation and unveil Patrick Pearse's plaque. And thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
For me, well, good friend on. This is more than old Dunsa. and proclamation Shahalero. Irishmen and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generation from which she receives her own tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, have patiently perfected her discipline. Having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment, and supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies, to be sovereign and independent. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms, standing on that fundamental right, and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world. We hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irishman and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government which have divided a minority from the majority in the past, until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women. The provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. This is signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Sean McDermott, Thomas McDonough, P.H. Pearse, Eamon Count, James Connolly, and Joseph Brunner.
Thank you very much, Brendan. Thank you for the invitation to unveil the plaque to my grandfather, Patrick Nelson. And well done to the teams for a very entertaining and ultimately quite a close fought match. It's great to be here in Longford. It's always great to come back to where my roots lie and to see relations, Louis and others from Longford. It's a great day that you've put on here, Brendan, and you're to be the Longford County Board and all your colleagues, and you're to be congratulated on it in this centenary year. As Brendan said, my grandfather came from Rathcline, just near Lanesborough. He won a scholarship to London and had secondary education there. and he became friendly with people like Michael Collins, Sam Maguire in London. And depending on which version you read, it was either my grandfather or Sam Maguire who inducted Michael Collins into the IRB, the Irish Republican Brotherhood. But they became very close together, and Patrick provided a safe house for Michael Collins on more than one occasion in Dublin when Collins came back in early 1916 to take part in the Rising. I don't know if it's typical of Longford people, but the characteristics my grandfather would have been most known for were his hard work, his uncompromising nature, and his patriotism. I guess those are typical Longford qualities, but certainly my grandfather was known for all of the above. In London, he was president of the Geraldines GAA club. He was involved in Sinn Féin in London. Back in Dublin, as Brendan said, he was involved in the 1916 Rising and the fight for independence. And he was unlucky enough to serve 6 months hard labour in Mountjoy and Belfast for his troubles in 1918, 1919. As a public representative, indeed, as Brendan has said, it's interesting in these days when Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are in talks to get together in some shape or form. My grandfather, I think, uniquely served as a TD for Fianna Fáil initially in 1927, subsequently with Common Gael and later Fine Gael. Probably the only person to do that, and there's a long history involved which I won't bore you with. But in 1927 he fell out with De Valera because after the assassination of Kevin O'Higgins, the Cosgrave government introduced a public order bill which my grandfather disagreed with and wanted to debate against. In those days Fianna Fáil were abstentionists and wouldn't take the oath of allegiance to debate matters in the Dáil. But my grandfather broke with that and was evicted from the Fianna Fáil party. 2 weeks later, De Valera led all his colleagues in and took the oath of allegiance. So timing is everything, I think. So he was also famous, or infamous depending on your point of view, in supporting the nationalist side in the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. And he was always a strong proponent of agricultural interests during the economic war in the 30s and afterwards. But he was always very close to Longford and worked to try to get Longford people elected for whichever party he happened to be involved with at any given time, and was always a Longford man at heart. So it's, as I said, it gives me great pleasure. It's an honour to be asked to do this, and thank you very much again.